So, yeah, don't hesitate anytime to interrupt and ask me questions.
The steaks, are they cutting it? Are they getting a steak already cut, or are they actually cutting it from the cap themselves?
They'll get a piece of cap.
Yeah.
I will be obviously large enough to get the portions that they need with a little bit of trim. Like we'll give them a little bit extra. They will have to cut it. So I apologize for that. It's a little bit tricky. I know some students may have a bit of a learning curve there. That came all the way from World Skills. We really tried to pair it up. So the national committee says, what are they doing at the next Worlds? That's what we're going to do at nationals. And then our philosophy with provincials is there's 2 days between the provincial and national competition. So it has to be exactly the same, or else we're really setting kids up for failure, right? When they get there and try to learn something new in 2 or 3 days. So
the regionals, are they going to be cutting the caps there as well?
I believe they will be. We'll be giving them a cap. All right. Cap steak for. So I'll introduce Ian Campbell. He's been our chair of the committee for many years. I don't know how long you'll stick around again, ask us questions, and but we'll get through that. So the cap steak was not necessarily our decision, but we did decide, let's keep it consistent. Let's make sure they're learning it right now in February and practicing it straight through, so that if they do get to nationals in June, they're ready for it.
You're going to demo that?
So I will demo it.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. And another thing that I'll add, this is great for today. They are filming it and they'll make that available. But sometimes you just need to see it done a little bit differently or with a different explanation. Honestly, I go to YouTube all the time for things if I'm not sure of it, and don't shy away from that. I'm sure if you look up sirloin cap steak, you can see a really thorough explanation of it. But we will do that today. So I'm going to start with the minestrone soup. And the reason this is on the menu, the reason we like this one, is because it's all about cutting those vegetables and showing that precision. So we have a few different cuts on here that you'll see. The onions, it says sliced thin, I'll show you that. Celery and carrots are small diced. Cabbage is shredded, so it's similar to a chiffonade. And zucchini is a medium dice. So we're testing these different competencies, making sure the students can execute them to that level of precision that's on the chart here. So I've done most of it already just to get it started, but I'll show you how I did each one. So the cabbage, I basically cut this in half. I stacked up a whole bunch of leaves of cabbage. If you have a big pile, you can kind of roll it. That's the way you would classically do a chiffonade. And then you just do nice thin slices.
You're going to find that's maybe a little bit easier of a technique for the students to do than taking a big wedge of cabbage and trying to, because then they're going to end up with possibly bigger pieces. So even if they peel a leaf of cabbage off, it's not like they would be deducted anything, because they're being smart about it. They're getting it to their size that they can handle. So just like Peter did, if they take the leaves, roll them up and then slice them along, they're going to get a lot more success out of it that way than trying to take a wedge of cabbage and trying to chop it up.
Now please don't peel 3 leaves off the cabbage, chop that up and then throw the head of cabbage out. We see that every year. Anything, I'll talk about this throughout the evening today, but anything that's usable, keep it, wrap it up, stick it in the fridge. We'll talk at the end, maybe we'll send a volunteer around to pick up that stuff. But at the very least, just don't throw it out and make sure your student understands the concept of food waste and really trying to preserve as much of this ingredient as we can. So for the onion, it says sliced thin. Now, that's not really a technical term. The way I did it today is how I would suggest you do it. So it's what I would call sort of a short julienne. So it's basically the width of an onion petal, a layer there, and then sliced thin, and it's about 1 inch. So to do that, took the ends off our onion, peeled it. I'm just going to go in half. I did take the whole root core end off there. A little bit left. We'll just take that bit off. And then I'm going to use my knife and just follow the shape of the onion around. So starting at a real angle here, nice thin slices, nice sharp knife is really important for this one. slices like that. So I guess the philosophy behind these precision cuts and why we have them and why there's these definitions is, if you have something on your menu and you want it to be the same every day, if you say to your cook, do a small dice never changes, and that means the soup will always cook the same way. And all the vegetables are the same size consistently, you can better plan how long things will take to cook, and that sort of control is really important. So, a little bit.
If you're saying that the onion's too big and you want 250 grams, they take half that onion, wrap it up, put it back in the fridge, and then that's okay. Want it back onto the table so other people can take it?
Yep.
Or
Yep. You could do that
or
too.
back in their fridge.
Absolutely.
Or
To be honest with you, me putting it back so somebody else can come and use it would be just as good as wrapping it and putting it in the fridge.
we'll almost do a full, right?
The only wrong answer is to throw it out, honestly. But that's what we see happen the
Put it
most.
in your bowl.
Put what?
Put it into your waste bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Because again, with the bowl, the two containers that they'll have on the table, one for the organics and one for the garbage, paper, plastic, anything that can't be recycled in a sense that way. Because nicely, the Expo Center does have a compostable program that they do over there. Because all that compost that comes from the kitchens there, they compost and then they feed it to all that plants in and around. Yeah, that's the way it should be. So they come down at the end of the competition, and that's why we keep it separate. So they get the compostables, and then the garbage gets thrown out later. But again, it's a way of making sure that the students not just, they're being very resourceful. And I know out in the schools right now, usually teachers are doing a real good job making them very eco-friendly and aware. So I don't think we'll have too much problem, but we do see some,
One caveat, I'm doing a half recipe of soup, so it will look a little different.
Question about onion cutting. So you kind of like your knife was sideways a little bit, right? Not straight up and down.
Yeah, so again, following the shape of the onion all the way around. So if I did this whole thing, I would start at this angle and just follow that whole half sphere all around. You can turn it if you're more comfortable cutting. Again, proper cutting safety is keeping that thumb behind your fingers. And I would really recommend, look up a basic knife skills video for some of that safety stuff. I'll try to mention it today as I go, but if you're not familiar with it, it's something you should spend a bit of time.
Then again, if the student's more comfortable with cutting it straight down instead of on the angle, they'll get the same result. They'll get the same result.
Okay, so I'm doing a half recipe, so the quantities will look a little different. You'll need probably a bigger pot when you're doing the whole thing. So I am going to vary from these recipes in some small ways, and I encourage you to do the same if you find that it yields a better result. That's what cooking is all about. Recipes are not necessarily scientific for this type of cooking.
It's a guideline more than anything.
So I always like to cook my onions on their own first, give them a little more time to sweat out, cook out that onion flavor. So while that's going, the small diced celery, I just took a stalk of celery and cut it in half down the middle. And then, this is a tough one to get exactly precise, but I'm going to cut this in half again. And that will be pretty close to a small dice.
I mean, based on the way the vegetable is, that's more than anything.
So you have all these nice little sticks. This is sort of what we would call a batonette. It's a little bit longer. But that's, in theory, it's a 1/4 inch by a 1/4 inch by a couple inches. Now I can line that up and just cut nice little cubes. So take your time as much as you need the first few times to just get familiar with the size. If any of you have the yellow handled knives, like those J.A. Henkel's knives, it's a little square on them with the logo. That is a 1/4 inch by a 1/4 inch. That's your reference. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but that's the perfect size for a small dice. So use that as a reference. And then the carrot is cut the same way. So the easiest thing with the carrot is make a nice little block like this. And then you can take all your peels and stuff and put that in a container, and that would be usable for stock if we were in a professional kitchen. So wrap that up, keep it in the fridge, and you're showing the judges that you're not wasting. Even though at the end of the day, realistically, a nape will go in the compost. In a professional kitchen, you would keep it, so that's what we want the students to do. So the carrot, same thing. I need to make now 1/4-inch slices. We'll stack those up, and then make 1/4-inch slices again to get my little batons. Line that up. Got my nice, beautiful small dice. So part of what the judges will be looking for here is you're showing the knife skills, but also when they go to judge the soup, this really adds a nice, beautiful presentation if everything's cut very consistently, very uniform. But what I will say is what's more important than being exactly the right dimension is being consistent. So if all of the carrots are cut exactly the same size, that's a little bit more important than making sure they're exactly 1/4-inch by 1/4-inch. So I'm gonna have the carrots a little sooner. These carrots they're pretty big and kind of woody, and I think they'll need to simmer a little bit longer to cook to the right al dente compared to the celery. So I'll have that first. Garlic for a half recipe, 2.5 milliliters. So a small clove of garlic, realistically. You can use a garlic press. You can use a microplane, works well. I like to crush the clove of garlic first, slice through it.
Maybe allowed to use garlic press?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No judge would ever have an issue with that because this isn't a measurable technique necessarily. It's either chopped or it's not. It's not, there's no dimensions to it. It's either chopped garlic or it's not. That's not what we're testing on. If they don't chop it enough, it will affect the taste because if I take a bite, a spoonful of soup and there's a huge chunk of garlic, that's all I'm going to taste, right? So I have no problem with seeing a garlic press. My thing is they're not worth the time to clean usually, so I just use a knife. So a nice trick with chopping garlic is actually to sprinkle a little bit of salt on it. And what that does is it acts as an abrasive. It also draws a little bit of water out of the garlic and makes it sticky, so it kind of sticks to the board a little bit more. So now with that salt on there, I can just take the blade, just crush it a little bit more to a paste. That's how I like to do it for a soup. Like that. Put that in there. So I'm just gonna let this hang out for a while. And we don't really want color, we don't want to brown the onions. With that said, if they do get a little bit caramelized, it's not a huge deal. So we want to let that go until they're tender to the bite, not any crunch left in there. Now, we already cooked our pasta. I would definitely suggest cooking that in a separate pot. Some people just throw it in with the soup and say, well, when the pasta's cooked, the soup is done. That's leaving a lot of things to chance, and I like to have more control than that. So cook the pasta separately, al dente. I suggest always pulling it out of the boiling water and tossing it in oil and spreading it out on a pan to cool it down rather than dumping it into cold water. Cooked pasta is like a sponge, it just keeps soaking up water. You're diluting the flavor and you're changing the texture of it. So we just put a little bit of canola or olive oil on here and just let that steam to a dry, cool.
I just have a question about the oil in here. So instead you don't.
So when you cook the pasta, don't take it out of the boiling water and dump it into ice water or cold water, because it will soak up that water and it'll get spongy. So take it out of the boiling water into a big bowl or a colander, a little bit of oil on it just so it doesn't stick.
So drain it.
Yeah,
Put a little
and
bit
then
more
just
water.
toss the pasta in the oil.
That makes sense.
Yeah, the oil is really just so it doesn't stick, and it sort of coats the outside so it doesn't dry out, but the excess water will steam off of it. Okay.
Because if they leave the pasta, the tendency is if they leave the pasta too long in the water, it'll break it down. And then by the time they add it to the soup, it'll just fall apart. So it won't retain its shape like it's supposed to.
Yeah. So zucchini, I cut it into a manageable length, and then I stand it on its end and just make some even slices. So the zucchini is medium dice. So this is how I did a medium dice. Again, refer to the chart, see how close I am here. I have never seen a judge at a competition measure everything, but they will notice if it's not consistent. If you have zucchini that's all shapes and sizes, that's what will stand out to them. Okay.
And that's going to be the case, especially with this soup. When the judge looks in there, he can see, I mean, yeah, there might be one just a little bit of a hair grain different, but when he looks at the overall dicing, everything looks basically the same. So all the zucchinis look the same, all the carrots are looking the same, all the onion, zucchini, you know, the whole thing's looking the same. Then I mean, you can tell straight away if the dicing and slicing is way off. You'll see it straight away.
So we always like to suggest seasoning in layers. Kind of a buzz term. There's not a real definition of what that means, but by adding a little bit of salt now, I'm drawing out some moisture from all of those different vegetables. All those little flavor compounds will sort of mingle together. Just a nice way to go about seasoning my soup, rather than making everything and at the very end having to add a whole bunch of salt. So, if there's one thing you leave with today to tell your students, is taste constantly. Taste everything you're making all the time. That will truly win the competition for them. If they're the only one whose food is seasoned properly, cooked to the right doneness, and hot, all of which you can tell by tasting. If they do those three things, they will win, hands down. Because no one in high school has ever perfectly executed those three things in the years that I've been involved in skills.
And Peter brings up the point of what we call layering, seasoning in layers. And I teach that with the students here, with the apprentices as well. Because you can put a little seasoning in, draws those flavors out, like Peter said, you add your stock, bring it up to the boil, let it simmer for about 5-10 minutes, and then get your student to taste it. How are the flavors? Can you taste anything? Because the tendency is they'll put their stock in, they won't even season, they'll cook it out, and then right at the end they'll throw in some salt and some pepper. Well, it's fine, because when they go to taste it, the salt and the pepper is still floating on the top. It hasn't had a chance to mingle down and get involved. But by doing it this way, adding a little seasoning to start with, put your stock in, up to the boil, simmer it for 10 minutes, they can taste, the flavors are building. We sprinkle a little bit more, but not as much as what we did first time. And by the time 20 minutes is gone, or 10 more minutes is gone, bang, the flavors are really coming out now, and then they don't have to really think about putting it in at the end. Because to make pepper always floats. And you go to smell, like you look at, I smell pepper right away, because it hasn't dissipated.
So, the potatoes, I'm just going to get started, just so we're not sitting around later waiting for them. These are russets, peel them, cut them in half, turn that on its side and cut it in half again. That's my mashed potato cut. I've been doing that my whole life, it works very well. If you small dice these potatoes, they will cook very quickly. You will have very wet mashed potatoes. You just won't be able to dry enough of that moisture, because the more surface area you have, the more moisture is absorbing into the starch of the potato. Now here's the caveat with this. If I dump these big potatoes into boiling water, the outside will start to disintegrate and just overcook before the inside cooks. So that's what we started in cold water. Gives a chance for that heat to penetrate all the way through the potato. Yeah, you know what? Do you want to chop up the? You got one plum. You want to chop that up? Shit. So, mashed potatoes are kind of a fine art. Practice them over and over, and make notes of what's happening every time. If you add the same amount of milk and the same amount of butter, but this time it's really wet or really dry, then you need to sort of make note of that and treat it like a science experiment and say, okay, what did we do differently? So was the water like at a rapid boil for a little too long? Or were the potatoes cut smaller, etc. So really good mashed potatoes are very achievable, they're very attainable, and they're impressive, but they are a little bit more difficult than you would think. So it's just sort of knowing when to turn down the heat, getting the doneness just right, so we'll talk about that when they're a little bit closer. And then very important with mashed potatoes, it's kind of a blank canvas in terms of the food. If they're not seasoned properly, it will be very obvious. You know, it's a very easy one to tell. And when they hit the seasoning just right, it is beautiful. As chefs, we love to see that with high school students. We're always very impressed. Yep.
So mashed potatoes, saying that you can do variations, right? So if you're doing a roasted garlic, are you looking for, you have parsnips in there, and you boil parsnips with potatoes?
Yep.
Are you looking at something like that? The parsnips don't take over the flavor.
Well, I guess the base is a mashed potato base
Yeah.
with the variants.
So you can add those in.
Sure, but again,
The parsnips are very strong, right? So
Yeah.
they take over the flavor. Is that something that
I
you're
wouldn't,
not looking
but
for?
you don't want the parsnip overpowering the potato.
Yeah.
You'd want to hint the parsnip in there, because then it's kind of like mashed parsnip.
Right. Okay.
I would say make sure that, you know, if you're going to do that, and again with the garlic, there's just that little hint in there, because then it really amplifies it. I've done both parsnip, mashed potatoes, and with the garlic. You don't want it overpowering that.
Okay,
So-
you can compare the two. And then the other thing in that as well, people are going to sit there. You're going to see them typing mashed potatoes. It's pretty hard to do. What about if they start adding egg into it?
So that's getting into duchesse then.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
So-
You're not looking for that to happen.
No, I would say theoretically you're looking for butter, milk, salt, pepper,
And no egg.
and no egg. No.
If they have egg in there, you're looking at
And just a little hint too, if you've got your student, if they're going to hand whip it or if they're going to hand blend the mashed potato, warm milk fluffs up the potato better than cold milk. It really does.
So when it says in there that they want them to use rice syrup, you don't care that they don't use rice syrup.
They can have a rice, they can bring a food milk.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, when they put that through the milk, they still got to add that butter, the salt,
Yeah.
the pepper, and the milk. A little warm milk in there. When they mix it up, fluffs the potatoes up beautifully.
Here's what I will say as a general rule about all of the recipes, and I say this every year, and I'm a big advocate for this. We're looking at outcomes here. We're looking, if we ask for a minestrone soup, that you serve us a minestrone soup. Now, any ingredient that's on the recipe should be represented in the dish, right? So if you make minestrone soup with no tomatoes and no zucchini, we're going to deduct points because that's clearly not following the outcome that we've asked for. But if you make minestrone soup and you add a few extra herbs in there, absolutely that's fine. But we will be judging it as a minestrone. So if you add so much of something that it's taking away from what it really should be, what the general, public expectation of a minestrone soup is. So if you add Tabasco and you add so much Tabasco that it's melting our faces, then yeah, that will be deducted. Now, I know the position you're in, and interpreting these documents can be tricky sometimes, and at the end of the day, you all want your students to be successful. But we're not trying to trick anyone with these scopes. We're trying to leave a little bit of room for creativity and interpretation. But you have to deliver the end result that we requested. So if you give us mashed potatoes and you put a little bit of parsnip in it, absolutely that's great. Nothing wrong with that. But if it just tastes like parsnips, that's okay. And I think, use your judgment on those types of decisions. Like, for example, every year that we've done ravioli, there's always a few teams that will put tomato paste in the pasta dough. And they're very excited about that. And they kind of come up at the end like, well, we're going to win, right? We're the only ones who did that. Okay, so that's a nice creative variation on what's asked. But if the pasta and the filling that we've asked for doesn't taste good, all of that other stuff is just fluff. It's irrelevant, right? It doesn't matter. The judges will not necessarily be that impressed if you didn't execute the core competency that we're doing. So that's my general rule for these scope documents. We're not trying to trick you. We're not trying to make it confusing or anything like that. Adding my tomato, my dried basil. If this was fresh basil, I would add it at the very end, because fresh herbs are, I guess, more volatile. They lose that flavor very quickly and they will change color. Dried basil, you can serve it. We have to sort of rehydrate it, so you can add that now. And then we'll add our stock. We got a little bit extra here.
I'm just looking here, and I understand what you were saying about the food mill or rice. I mean, if the kid's bringing a machine and he wants to put it on the whip,
So we sometimes, if you don't bring something like that, it says you use a ricer. Yeah, right.
So we will never tell our judges to make sure everyone uses a ricer. That's not what we're testing. What we will notice is, wow, these are the best mashed potatoes. They're the lightest and fluffiest, and there's no lumps. So again, it's those outcomes. How you get there is up to interpretation, but we're looking for recognized professional techniques. So if I take my potatoes and take a knife and put them on my cutting board and chop them up over and over and over and mash it all up with my hands, even if that's the smoothest mashed potatoes, that's not really an accepted professional technique. But if you use a masher or a ricer or a food mill or a KitchenAid mixer, that's fine.
Stock, 2.5%.
A little bit more stock, so don't add all of that. No, it's just extra. So minestrone soup is all about color. To preserve the beautiful green zucchini and the bright carrots and all of these nice colors, you want to cook it just right. You can't let this boil for hours and hours. You'll lose all those colors, and that's one of the reasons we like this as judges. It's very easy to judge the level of execution that's been done. Just as soon as you walk up to the bowl and you see the cuts and you see the colors and all this. And honestly, I can't stress this enough. Where competitions are won and lost, is the soup pot. It's really that simple. You would not believe how many students serve us ice cold food because, and I've been in this position and I kind of understand what happens. No matter how many times you tell them, make sure it's hot, you get there, you're stressed, things happen, you're in a strange kitchen, Mr. Campbell's staring at you with a clipboard, intimidating you, whatever.
put it all on me.
And I think we just sort of revert to this default, like, what have I internalized? If I've gone through all the motions and I know how to put the food on the plate and make it look just right, that becomes my focus. And students forget to taste, forget to keep it hot, forget to wipe the rim of the plates, even little things like that. So, truly, seasoning, temperature, doneness are really the three biggest things with the food that they're serving us that will make or break their dish. And the good news is they're the most attainable. There's no outside the box, there's no advanced technique there. It's just practicing effectively and deliberately to really ensure that your students are retaining those principles, So for me, when I was doing this in high school, I had a habit of doing my whole dish. I would make the soup, I would maybe taste it, whatever, and I would put it up. My teacher would come and taste it and say, well, what do you think? And I would say, well, it needs salt. And we would say, okay, yeah, it needs salt, so next time we'll put more salt. And we would leave it at that. And what I realized is that's not the way to perfect these things. The way to perfect it is, okay, it needs salt. Let's put it back in the pot. Let's add salt. Let's keep tasting it until it's just right. And then let's serve it. And let's complete the whole dish that we're practicing, Get it to the point where it should be. And that includes if your student's practicing and they serve you something that's cold, maybe you say, you know what, take this back, reheat it, serve it to me when it's hot. And that just helps internalize this concept because it is so important to success in these competitions.
So I would imagine these are the same type of soup bowls that we're going to be using. So a little rule of thumb, they don't have to fill the soup all the way to the top. If it's about 1/4 of an inch down on the plate like that, where the soup comes in, perfect. And again, make sure that they wipe the bowl, and then if they're going to handle the bowl, make sure that they're not grabbing the bowl with that thumb. Try and hold it, and they'll most likely be giving an underliner plate for them. And the bowls is going to be important, like Peter said. We make, one of the biggest things is soup comes up cold. So you got a bowl like this, it's not cold, but it's not warm. You put some right boiling soup in here, and within about 20 seconds of that soup going in, this plate has taken the heat. The bowl gets hot now, and the soup gets cold. So just make sure the students know. Put your bowls in an oven. It doesn't have to be a blazing oven. About 100, 125 degrees for a couple of minutes. Long enough he can handle a bowl without burning himself. And then if he puts the hot soup in, guaranteed that soup will stay hot now because the bowl is already warm and it's going to be painful.
So with our turnips here, peel them at the end off, stand it up. Anything that you have to dice, any vegetable you have to dice, typically you want to try to turn it into a box, however you can. Trim it down, get nice square edges. And you will have a bit of waste. And again, wrap it up, keep it in a container, label it, turnip scraps, put it in the fridge. You will not get dog marks for that. Unless they're clearly not at the level of knife skills where they're wasting way too much. So if I take this big turnip and I cut it down so small that I only get one dice out of it, and we see this type of thing happen, then the judges will have to say, yeah, you're being a little bit wasteful, because it's now incorporating two different elements where their knife skills weren't good enough, and as a result, the turnip is not being used to its best possible use, right? But again, if you want to take your parsnip scraps, put them in the mashed potato, or really want to wow the judges, take your parsnip scraps, make a little bit of a parsnip puree separate from the mashed potatoes. You're welcome to do these types of things and add a little bit to the dish, but it's not at all required. So try to square this off without wasting too much. And again, large dice is 3/4 of an inch. But we're not going to measure. If it's close, that's great, but it better be consistent. So like here, I could waste a whole bunch to get it just right, or I'll go in half and it'll be just a tiny bit smaller. That's to me acceptable. Now, you're going to be cutting some extra pieces, because you want to be able to taste. Your student needs to be able to taste these once they come out of the oven. So if you know, okay, I need 3 plates and I'm putting 3 per plate, don't just cut 9, cut 12 or whatever.
They won't get duck marks for trying that food, trust me, they'll get most likely a bonus mark for trying it.
Yeah.
And that's what we like to see and encourage the students that, taking, trying some of that product. It never hurts. Never hurts.
That's opposite of baking.
Well, that's the bacon.
I know, like we don't want an extra cookie or anything, just,
Well,
that funny.
I mean, again, like you say, Peter says, if you've worked out your portions, 3 of each, it's like, well, I gotta have 3. Well, what's wrong with you having 1 to try? There's nothing wrong at all. And even, even say you did an extra 3, So you took one, you know you've got 3 to taste, so you try the first one, oh, they're not quite cooked. He goes for the second one, they're right on, he takes them out, seasons them all up, puts the 3 on the plate, it's got 1 left over, hey, guess what? That's my bonus, it's gone. There was nothing wrong with that at all. Trust me, the judges, and I know a lot of the judges that we'll have coming, especially for the high school, they love it when they see the kids are tasting their food, because to them it's fabulous, because they're finding out exactly what they're producing. We still see it sometimes here at school too. They're bringing things up to be critiqued. Did you taste it? Yeah. No, you didn't.
Honestly, we have 9 students going to compete in Dubai representing Nate for the international cooking competition, and I'm one of the coaches. And they bring me dishes, and I say to them, "Did you taste this?" And they say, "Well, I mean, I know how it tastes." Do you? Because this isn't right. This isn't how you normally do it. It happens a lot until you get to a point in your career where you finally realize this is what cooking is all about. If I don't taste it, how do I know I've made it taste good? So very, very important. Cannot emphasize it enough. You leave here with one thing today. Get your students to taste many, many times throughout the competition. Parsnips are a little bit tougher. Again, we are going to be reasonable with how much waste they have, because we know this is not the easiest thing to dice. So, if that's my sort of benchmark, and I want them consistent to that, I cannot get 2 rows out of this one. So I'll just make it consistent. But this is sort of that level of precision that will make this a very beautiful vegetable preparation.
Another little thing, arm your students with some of these. We don't want to see the students going in doing this. Make sure that they've got spoons. Paper towel is really nice too, because they can use the paper towel, wipe their hands after washing, of course, or wiping down the bench and throw it away. One of the big things lately that we see a lot is the students are bringing in the terry towel and cloths to wash down their boards and stuff, and that's fine, and then they'll do that, but then instead of getting it away under the bench or putting it in a soap or sanitizer somewhere else, they just drop it down on the board. Well, it might, you wiped something else with it, now you've got something else going on. If you've got meat, you wipe it with meat, well, get rid of it. Paper towel is fabulous for that, because then they can wipe up, boom, it goes into the that recycle bin, and it's out of the way. So I know a lot of them like to bring those terry towel and cloths, because they think, oh, it's a dishcloth, it's big. To be honest with you, there's more problems with the judges look at with the cross-contamination that way than they do with the paper towel.
Yeah, 100%. Honestly, I can tell you, when I competed at World Skills in Brazil, one of the reasons I was successful is because a lot of the other competitors they had a side towel. So there was a bit of a language barrier with all the judges, like they had interpreters and stuff, so there was a lot of charades going on, and the Canadian judge told me afterwards, he said, on one of the days of the competition, we were marking the cleanliness of the competitors, and so we would go through each competitor number, and then, you get to number 4, and one of the judges from South America said, oh, no, and he was kind of miming, wiping his hands on the side towel, cutting, handling chicken, wiping his hands on the side towel again. This is your oven mitt. That's all this should be for. That's why it's tucked in your apron, so I can go like this. Do not use this for cleaning. Do not use it for drying dishes. Do not use it for drying your hands, anything like that. Treat it like an oven mitt. So if you wouldn't do it with an oven mitt, don't do it with the side towel. That's my advice there. Truly, that's one of the reasons I won my competition. It's because I was just a little bit tighter on some of those, very, very picky little cleanliness things. Cooking competitions are about being at that elite level, and it's if you look at the scope document, 50% of the score is for kitchen marks, and I would argue those are the easiest to obtain if you practice and you practice deliberately and you have a good understanding of these proper cooking techniques and standards. So one thing, these parsnips were a little wilted, a little flimsy. So I just stuck them in some cold water for an hour just to try to firm them up a bit. It makes it a little bit easier to cut them. Parsnips can be difficult to cut when they get a little bit older. Okay, so Cameron, maybe you want to finish off the soup there? Yeah, just some parsley, and then we're going to grate some parm on top of that.
Looking at the special veggies. So one of the first things I'm looking at when they go to taste the soup, before I'm worried a little bit more about the flavors, like where's the veggies at? And especially your root vegetables, the firmer vegetables, you're going to have to make sure that they try them. Because the tendency is they'll maybe pick out one of the less firmer vegetables and they'll tell, oh yeah, it's cooked through, but is the root vegetable. So your onion, your carrot, are they cooked through? And they should be what we call al dente. Still got a little crunch in there. So I can still, once I crunch down on the carrot, it's still got like a little bit of rawness in it. I want that little bit of rawness out, so I want the carrot still firm, but I want it to still be able to bite through it and hold its shape. So get them to try that, and then of course, they can see, well, the carrots are not ready, and that should be, if anything, a telltale sign.
So for our veggies, the rule with asparagus is where it snaps is sort of where you want to eat it. So snap a couple, sort of get a sense of, some of them, if you have a much larger asparagus, you might need to actually trim it a little bit shorter. It might start to get a little more woody at the end. But snap a couple, get a general sense, and then you can cut them all the same length. Now again, I've worked in restaurants where they would take these and slice a little bit more and make asparagus chowder out of it. We're not going to be that picky. I think the judges will be reasonable. If they cut the asparagus here and throw the rest out, we're going to have a problem. Yep.
Would you not just peel the ends of those and use the ends?
So you can peel the ends, but the issue is, if you know what, pass that around. Take a look at the white end of it. The peel is tough, but the inside is very tough. Once you get down to the end, it's so dried out.
You still have like 2 inches on there.
Yeah,
You're
welcome to do it.
I'll show you what the rule of thumb is in the kitchens when we do this. So you kind of start off, you press, and then all of a sudden, when it snaps, that's going for soup or wherever, because you can see it right there. It's very firm. Yeah. But now, when I get to this part, if I really put some pressure on, I can buckle up on. I can't buckle up. So just again, when you're with your soups and you're showing them, just get the asparagus and just work your finger up, pressing, and then you'll see where it gets to the tender part, the snap.
Okay, so celery root. Who's worked with celery root before? Celery act. It's hard to even find it in a store, let alone good smell. I get that. Again, we're trying to pair the scope up all the way to nationals and worlds, so that's why it's on here. If you can't find this and you're practicing, it will cook similarly to the parsnip. You're cutting them all the same size. You're going to roast them all together. The biggest challenge will be practicing peeling it. So really try to find it at least once for students to practice. You can take a peeler to this, but it's very difficult to do. So I would suggest using a sharp knife and a steady hand. So like everything else, take the 2 ends off. And I'm just going to use my knife gently, just like cleaning an orange, to segment an orange.
Same technique as we use for doing melons, pineapple, any of the bigger squash, butternut, acorn. Same technique we use. And And the only thing to watch out too with the celery root is this one was pretty clean. Some of them come pretty dirty, so just make sure that your student's aware that, you know, he peels it. You may have to wash the celery root, but then rewash his cutting board because he may have some dirt left on there.
Yeah. Yeah, it literally is dirt. I'm not sure why. Maybe they just can't really wash them when they're in the processing and packing stage. But we gotta get clean. Yeah, I know we need. So my potatoes, you can see like they're gently simmering. It's not a big rolling boil. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit. It will take. Okay. It will take a little bit longer, but keeping them intact like that helps keep a more dry mashed potato. If they're bouncing around in big, you know, boiling water, they're breaking apart. The starch is breaking apart on the outside, and they're soaking up more water. So now this is always an interesting one.
And for getting the students to test, just tell them to take a small paring knife and then just gently push it on the potato. And these are just on. No.
Okay.
So you should be just able to, just very little pressure, and the knife just sinks right in.
So I like to drain the potatoes, take my empty pot, just turn the stove off, just kind of let it sit in the strainer on top of the warm pot, and they just steam dry that way. You take these and straight out of the pot and right into the mashing bowl, you're going to end up with a lot of that cooking water in there.
So you've still got a lot of water coming out of it, so like Peter says, just put it to turn the stove up.
Yeah, that's good. So we'll let that steam dry for a bit, and then probably a good time we'll get our milk or our cream heating up. So this recipe, again, you don't have to use this exact recipe for mashed potatoes, but we are looking for mashed potatoes with butter and cream and milk in it. I think it would be very nice if they added a little bit of nicely sliced chives or something like that. And look at what's on the scope document there.
That's just the flavor of the student's choice.
So what I'm going to do is just in one small pot, we're going to heat up the cream. I'm going to put whole butter, like not melted butter, because I want it to emulsify in the potato. So it'll melt as it's mixing in, so we don't end up with a layer of butter on top. The whole butter and hot cream, we'll start with that, and then the recipe says to add hot milk as needed. So your students should be practicing this and have a general idea of how much milk they need. So I'll just take the cream up, put that in the potatoes, and then heat the milk up in the same pot. And we'll just add just the right amount so that we have the right. No, that's the dry juices. Any questions about what we've done so far? Okay, good. Now, again, I'm not working with a real timeline today. I'm just kind of free for all, making everything, we'll taste things as they're ready. But the more your student practices this, you want to work out what we would call your timeline or your work plan. And that's a schedule of their day at the competition, from the minute they get in the kitchen and turn on the ovens until the minute the plates go up. I like to actually break those down into 15 or 30-minute increments. When I compete, I do it in 15 increments. High school level, 30 minutes is probably okay. So if the competition starts at 9, what am I doing from 9 to 9? What equipment do I need to do that stuff? I do it in Excel. I make a good spreadsheet of my tasks, my equipment, and then I can look ahead and say, okay, my next half an hour block, I need to be boiling my pasta, so I'm going to get the water on. You start to think about your transitions and your workflow like that. Really good exercise for time management. And yeah, this is the high school level, so we are reasonable with our expectations. But this is something you can do to wow judges beforehand, before the competition starts. You bring this in, but your student brings that into the competition. So why not take advantage of that? Make a very good work plan, but also a realistic one that they're going to be able to stick to. Sure. Okay.
like some salt, but you like more salt than me.
All right, so I have a few little bowls there. With some plastic spoons. So maybe, Chef, you want to dish up one sort of with the portion size that we're looking for, and then we'll grate a little bit of fresh parm on top.
Can we all see that? See the bowl? Or should I? Yep. So again, when you go to serve that soup, tell your student to give the soup a good stir. You might have a little bit of like, because you put some oil in, and that's a really good point too. Because this is a thin soup or a national soup too, you don't want to get too much oil going in there to start with. Just enough teaspoon of oil, just enough to coat the bottom of the pan and get the veggies started so they don't literally stick on the bottom of the pan. Because if they end up putting too much oil in, they're going to have to do what we call skim it off. Because if they take a big shot of soup and they put it on there and there's a big oil slick up on top, they're going to lose points right away. So again, just get them to stir up their soup, get a good ladle full.
This works too. I've done this before. Nice clean sheet of paper towel, just dip that in. The oil's all on top, so it just soaks that up. Now, we'll just multitask here a little bit. For our roasted root vegetables, so they got it all diced up. It says just to put peeled shallots in there. I'm going to do a little variation. I'm going to break them apart a little bit so we get those little kind of onion petal shapes. And we'll see how they come out once everything's cooked. They might be a little overcooked, but part of the reason this is in there is just to flavor it. But if they look nice in the end, then it could be a nice little garnish on the dish. So little pieces like this. Just break them apart a bit.
Nice little sprinkles, nothing wrong. Because again, remember with the cheese, it's going to be salty. So again, it's going to add a little bit more salt. So again, if you can get the soup just nice, by the time you put in a little extra, it's going to be good. So there you go. So again, you can see even if they have to walk the soup over, it's not spilling all over the bowl. So that's as far as they should get the soup in the bowl. Okay?
So
is what he just put the first. He's on top.
all that is required is the soup as the recipe specifies. Now every year you'll see students who make crackers, breadsticks, biscuits, corn fritters. Honestly, I don't remember the last time that the person who made the garnish had the best tasting soup. And that's what we're looking for. So if they add a garnish and it tastes nice, the judges will keep that in consideration. But that cannot overrule a poorly made soup or a poorly seasoned soup or a cold soup because they spent so long getting the garnish.
Well, I agree, but I'm just wondering, for garnish wise, are you looking for that
Nope.
every year?
No, classically, personally, minestrone soup to me is the vegetables in the broth, a little Parmesan cheese over the top, some chopped pasta mixed in there, and that's it. Bringing me with a cheese straw or a Parmesan chip, it's nice. You've done some extra work, but for me, you've done extra work for nothing. So, all I need.
Or they go ahead and start making all that stuff.
Are they served the soup ahead of time, or is it you gotta keep warm for 3 hours until all your other main dish is served, or is the soup?
Well, the soup's going to come out at a certain time because they'll have soup will be out about a good half an hour before. It's normally the way we do it, right? Half an hour.
I don't have the. It's on the first page. I know that. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have the times memorized, but it's on the first page.
And again, normally what we do is we make sure if anybody wants some soup, come on down. We'll normally give everybody a call out as to where they're at, where we're at for the soup. And then obviously when it's what we call window time or open, that means the students can come on down and bring up that product.
So
And one other thing too, no problem, with the case of putting their products up, when you are training with them, take a look at, okay, how long does it take you to get that up? Because again, if they know and they're clock watching, because we'll have clocks in there, they'll have clocks on their stoves, and I know a lot of them bring clocks to click. They have their own clock, so they're watching that too. And again, it's clock watching. So they know, okay, if they said it's such and such time, and we always call 15 minutes before we want the soup. So 15 minutes, how long does it take me to cook my soup up? Do I need 7 minutes? Perfect, because when I call 10 minutes for the soup, I can wait a couple of minutes because I know the 5 minutes is coming, and now I can slowly put my stuff out and start putting my soup together, because when that bell goes and the windows open, I'm just finishing my last bowl of soup, out it goes. Because some of them, what they'll do is they'll wait, and then all of a sudden, that bell goes, soup time. And they freeze. And yes, they've got 5 minutes to get it up, but think, how long does it take me to put up those 4 bowls of soup? Can I get it done within those 5 minutes? And put the cheese on and away we go. Does it take me more than 5 minutes? Because then you can train them. When he calls 10 minutes, look at your clock and say, okay, I'm going to wait 2 minutes, and now I'm going to slowly put out my soup. Not that you're rushing to get it up. You can take your time and get it out, because by the time you get it all done, they're going to be picking it up.
Okay, so the roasted root veg there, a little bit of dry thyme, salt, pepper, olive oil. I probably went a little bit too heavy in the dry thyme. That's in the oven, 375. It says 45 minutes. Anytime you have a time given in a recipe, take it with a grain of salt. You need to get a feel for it. So rather than telling your student this will be ready in 45 minutes, tell them what it will look like when it's ready. How do I know it's ready? And we talk about that in professional kitchens. You should never ask, how long does it take? You should ask your chef or your instructor, how will I know when it's done? So with the root veg, same thing with the potatoes. If I poke a paring knife in there, I should be able to feel that it's fairly soft. It'll probably fall down off the knife. It shouldn't be falling apart when I poke at it, right? It should still have a tiny little bit of bite to it. That's how you know it's done. So if your student cuts them a little bit smaller than whoever wrote the recipe, or if your oven's a little bit hotter than whoever wrote the recipe, they're going to cook faster. So I try to never give you folks, a time to cook something, because there's so many variables that could change it. The student needs to be familiar with the whole process and really recognize when it's done. Okay, you want to rice the potatoes there?
Yes, sure.
So this is a ricer. If you have one, great. You don't need to go buy one. Superstore sells little food mills that are the perfect size to fit on a pot like this. They're like $30. They're awesome. I have 2 of them. I've used them in professional kitchens. I've used them at home. There's nothing wrong with the potato masher. There's nothing wrong with KitchenAid mixer. It's about knowing how to use the tool properly for the job. So if you put them in the KitchenAid mixer with the whisk attachment and you whip those potatoes for half an hour, they will be like glue, because you can over-mix them.
Overhit the side.
Similarly, if you take your potato masher and give it 10 good mashes and call it a day, they're going to be really lumpy. So there's no right or wrong tool, but you have to make sure you're using it properly. So if we do want to keep it fairly hot, we've got some got the hot cream here and some cold butter. And we've got a whisk if you want to use a whisk afterwards. So I'm just going to toss the cream in here right away because we don't need that. Okay. And then I'll put the milk on the stove to get heated up while we finish that.
So these rices, you do have to work with them a little bit. It doesn't all go through first shot, but it does make them nice, light, fluffy.
I'm going to blanch the asparagus just to get them out of the way. Who's familiar with blanching? Everyone kind of, has an idea. Blanching 101, I guess, is nice big pot, lots of water, full boil, and more salt than you think you need, probably. Like with potatoes and I'd say with blanched vegetables, almost like seawater, it should be very salty, because what's happening is almost a chemical reaction that the salt in the water is preventing all the nutrients and all the color compounds from leaching into the water. So that and the whole taste aspect. So we do want to see fairly well salted water. And then if I've salted the water just right, I won't need to add any more salt to this appeal. That's the goal.
That's the goal, because it does the vegetables or whatever you're cooking in that salted water will take on the salt, and you don't have to add up the extra seasoning.
So you're welcome to peel the end of the asparagus or the whole asparagus up to here. It's sort of a tradition thing. Some of the thicker asparagus do get a little bit woody, and the outside is kind of fibrous, so that's why it was done classically. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that you should do it, because then every single person will do it, and then it's not really a big deal. If you think it's maybe a skill that you want to teach your student just for that kind of traditional aspect and have a teachable moment of, it's sort of a finesse thing, that's great. I don't think anyone has ever or will ever be dock marks because they didn't peel asparagus when it's nice and fine. If you have really big, the jumbo asparagus and they're a little bit woody, then I think you should peel them if they're like that. So once it gets down to this, it's almost impossible to peel because the peeler will take off a quarter of the asparagus every time. So I'll just for today, I'll peel these ones a little bit. No, I'm boycotting white pepper. So white pepper versus black pepper is an age-old debate. I hate the taste of white pepper on something like a mashed potato. I have a business that makes artisan meats, and like something like a salami or certain sausages, it's very important because it gives this background flavor. But mashed potatoes are kind of, like I said, this blank canvas, and white pepper can really overpower it. So again, I think this was a traditional thing. If it was a white food, you put white pepper so you didn't have little black flecks in it. I don't know any chef that's out of the industry now who still feels that way, really. I think it's more of a traditional mindset. So go ahead and use black pepper if you'd like. Use white pepper if you'd like. Again, there's nothing wrong with it as a food. My personal taste, I don't put it in something like mashed potatoes. I usually use white pepper.
And the big difference between the white pepper and black peppers is just the peppercorns themselves. Black peppercorns are unripened, whereas the white peppercorn are. So they're a lot more stronger. And we even have it here at the school, a lot of our first year students that just, white pepper, no problem, fine. And you feel it right away. So again, if you are allowing your students to use white pepper, make sure they're using it very, very, very gingerly.
You give me milks on the stove on. And then, that's not bad. Yeah, that's your milk. That's what you want. Filling a piping bag 101. Get a little something that's flat that you can stand it up in. And now I have two hands free so I can hold my bowl and scrape with the other hand. So I want a little bit of it in here, and then we'll do the other one with actually no, that'll be fine. We'll just put it all in there when it's ready. Now, something that I've got hanging out on the stove over here, you're welcome to come up and take a look at it, is I made myself a steam table. So these are industrial, what we call them inserts, right? So hotel pans and these square containers. And I've put a bunch of small containers inside a big one. I put some hot water in the bottom, and it just keeps that steam in there. So what I can do now is, I came up with this when I was competing, because I was trying to figure out how come this seems so much more difficult than it does when I'm at work. Plating up this dish takes me longer in a competition. what I realized is at work we had a steam table, so your sauce was right there, and you had a place to put your vegetables and your potatoes and everything, and it was all right in front of you. So instead of going back and forth to the stove to get one pan, come back over to my plates and plate it up, and then go get my sauce and go back and forth, so that could add 2 or 3 minutes to your plate up, which is enough time for it to get ice cold. So that's what I came up with. Now you can buy, they make little like Betty Crocker brand little appetizer steam table type things where, you know, it's just a little plug-in and it's got some little metal things to put your food in those metal trays. Those are fine. This is fine if your school has these metal inserts. You can do something like this. The easiest way is to just take boiling water from a pot, put it in the bottom. And then what we can do now is take my piping bag and I'll stick it in one of those metal inserts and I'll just cover it in foil and it'll take care of it. So that gives you a little bit of leeway that you should still try to have everything done around the same time, but this way at least it will stay warm and the potatoes in the bag are not going to dry out or anything like that. So it should be okay. And that's something we have all of our teammate students now doing as well.
What we did was we took Peter's idea last year when we went to my last competition. I went with Team Neck. We went to Hong Kong. So we went over to McKinley Taylor and we got them to make 4 small little adaptable ones where we could put 6 even half-sized ones again in there, because all our students we found had about either 5 or 6 components that were going on the plate, and boy, it paid off because we came back with a lot of medals because they were able to prepare that product, put it there, get the next one, put it there, so it's all keeping it warm. It's not overcooking because it's just keeping it warm. And then when it was plate time, they just brought it up to the table, put their plates out, and it was just bang, 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 and everything just went. And the judges were kind of impressed, like, wow, because a lot of the other kids had stuff on the stove at
that back and forth eats up your time so much.
So by the time they go back to the second one, that one's already getting cold. Whereas this way you can bring it right up to your table and you've got it all up by the time the other guys run it done too.
And that's just a really good, I guess it's a good train of thought for anything in a group company is where can I shave off the minutes? Or where am I losing it? So the other big one that I see this really holds competitors back is they're making 100 trips to the fridge or to the common table or wherever all the food, all the stuff is. So make a good list. You know, the document, the scope document has not changed, or it won't change. You know, the week before the competition it will be set. You know what you're going to need. You know that I need my potatoes, I need cream, I need milk. So go through the recipes, get a spreadsheet, and just put it all in one list and tell your students at the start of the competition, all you do for the first half an hour or however long it takes is get everything you need, consolidate it. So if you have your own fridge, put it all in your fridge. It's all, I like to scale everything out, measure everything. So take a scale to the common table and measure my, you know, my potatoes or my flour for the tart or whatever. And then I know that I won't have to make those emergency trips to the fridge. Well, I forgot the butter for the potatoes. So if I go to and from the walk-in fridge again, unnecessarily, that's an extra minute and a half. You know, and the minutes really do add up at the high school level. Because they just don't have that kind of third gear of cooking speed to catch up if they get behind. We see that a lot. So, this is our cap steak. So I've got a kilo here. You know what, we'll use it for a grenade. Maybe there's my steak. Okay. So pay attention to anywhere that it gives you a portion size in this document. Those are there for a reason. We are taking that into consideration. some people are a little bit off, a little bit underportioned, or a little bit too much for the plate. And those little bits are not what we're worried about. What we're worried about is when someone gives us one piece of asparagus and one bite of the steak and one spoonful of mashed potatoes. You can't judge that the same as someone who gives the proper portions. So we have to deduct if they're way off on the portion size. So that's on page 2. So the main course, the complete plate, to not exceed 350 grams. The way I would break it down is the steak. I write this down. Sorry, I wrote it down somewhere. The steak about 125 is kind of my recommendation, around there. Anytime they give you a maximum portion size on a dish, go a little bit smaller because it's easier to make less food look good. If you put too much food, it crowds the plate and you lose all of that white space. And it just gets more difficult to really make a nice, clean presentation that way. So I would do 125 grams for your steak, 75 grams of potato, and then about 100 grams for your vegetables and sauce. That's my recommendation.
One more time, please. Lower.
Sorry?
Repeat.
125 grams for the steak, 75 grams for the potato, and 100 grams for your vegetables and sauce. And again, all this stuff will be on video, so I'm sure that'll be made available to you if there's anything that you missed. I don't need to worry there. All good. The gloves thing is sort of a new thing in our industry. A lot of restaurants, the cooks will not be wearing gloves, but in a competition, if I'm handling a raw piece of meat, yes, I still have to wash my hands, but if I know that when the gloves are on, I'm handling the beef, and as soon as I go to do something else, I take the gloves off and I wash my hands. It's just an extra step to prevent cross-contamination because it's a little bit too easy when you're in the heat of the moment, you're portioning your steaks and then your pot boils over and you quickly just run over and start touching all of those things and you now contaminate your workstation, especially if you're dealing with raw chicken. That's a big concern, right? So some people will disagree with me. Chef Campbell and I have taken a stand on this that get a box of these gloves and just use them when you're handling raw protein like this, and then when you're plating up your food. Just throw on a pair of gloves and it's an extra layer and it's showing the judges that you're very careful about cross-contamination. This does not excuse hand washing. So they'll be watching you. If you take your gloves off, you should still just wash your hands just to show, it's best practice.
And another thing that the students have to remember, even though they've got the gloves on, it doesn't mean, everything's fine, I can touch this, I can touch that. You touch raw meat, when you finish touching it and it's gone away or it's in the oven, gloves come off, wash your hands, the board goes away, it gets washed, and then you bring a clean board in.
So they need their finished steak to be about 125 grams. If they get a piece like this, and I believe it's 3 plates that they have to serve, there's a lot of room for, it's a difficult skill, and this is a difficult cut to portion nicely, but if they only need a couple, it should be fairly easy to get them consistently shaped in the size. So I can't cut a little piece off the end, and then cut a big long piece here and put those side by side on 2 different plates. That doesn't look good. Now this is, just under a kilo. So I guess you have to approach it kind of like grade 4 math when you're learning fractions and you're cutting the pie and whatever. So if I cut this into 4 and then cut one of those 4s into 2, I should have very consistent shape and size. Now, I don't know how far into this we want to get. This could get a little bit overwhelming, but typically when you're cutting a piece of meat and you're serving a steak, you want to cut against the grain. So you know what, if you want to come up and take a look quickly, this is probably worth doing. You can see there's lines in this meat. that's what we call the grain. And it has to do with the muscle fibers. So it's just this sort of the biology of the animal.
So you can see it's all running. See the red, more, it's running that way. And basically, if you were to cut the meat this way with the fibers and you try to eat it, even though you cook it, it's going to be very stringy and chewy. But again, by cutting it across those fibers, you've broken the fibers down. Now it's firm textured, but you can chew it, you can break it apart. And that's the idea. And again, some students, they don't realize that, basically at high school. But again, if you can point that out to them, so when they do come to cut it, then look for the grain. Remember, you're cutting steaks against the grain.
So for provincials, are you looking for 2 cutting boards, or are they able to go and wash their cutting board?
They've got a sink, they can wash it and sanitize it. I've got no problem if they brought 3 cutting boards. They got one for they're going to do their meat on, and then they've got one for doing their vegetables on, and one.
What did the judges prefer with 2 cutting boards or 1?
Okay, so this is where
That's,
we get
Some of them are really picky though, so I just like.
Yeah, so
no, but as long as again, okay. So if Peter just had the one cutting board, he's cut the meat. As long as he gets that board over to the sink, it's well washed, hot soapy water, it's rinsed off. He wipes it or sanitizes it down, lets it air dry, and then he can go on and use something else. No problem. But if he's just going to take it, take that, and then put something else on, you better believe it, there's marks coming off.
So we're trying to give you best practices, but we're also trying to give you the options that, not every school can go and buy different sets of cutting boards, and we understand that. But make sure it is very well sanitized. That's all you can see. And that costs nothing, right? Every judge will be different, so we could sit here and talk for hours about, well, one time this one judge said this one thing. We really try to get consistent judging, and we try to really brief our judges well. But at the end of the day, they're all they're volunteering their time, coming from their workplace, going to work after, and we have, a limited amount of time to give them these instructions. So what we tell you is what the generally accepted standard is in the industry. So all of these chefs share that standard. Yes, someone might dock your student a few marks for something that's being a little bit more picky, but I can truly say that has never lost someone in competition. What has lost in the competition was that their food wasn't seasoned, or it wasn't hot, or it was overcooked, or they were very unsafe and messy in the kitchen. So I know it can be frustrating. I've been there. I've lost the competition by 1/100th of a point. Well, not lost it, first to second. And I know that that's really frustrating.
The ninth put it on that.
But at the end of the day, we want you to know the standards and the best practices, and if you execute those, you will be.
And I'll be honest with you, before the judges, especially the kitchen judges, go on the floor, because it's the kitchen judges that are going to be watching this, they'll have already been debriefed and said, okay, here's your parameters, this is what you're going to be judging, just to keep a couple of pointers to watch out for. Make sure that when they are handling the meats, check to make sure that the boards are getting done, sanitized, it's getting properly done. And 9 times out of 10, trust me, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, Dave. Dave's been at the competitions, and you see, the judges can be walking around, and they're watching, they might be watching this guy, but pretending they're watching over there. We have tricks so that you don't want to have, you're looking down and the poor students shaking. We try to offset them, but as soon as somebody's doing meat, you'll see all of a sudden the vultures are, the judges are kind of circling up without putting pressure, and they're watching. What's he doing? What's she doing? We watch. But they'll have been, coached to say, okay, make sure we're watching for this. We're not letting anybody get away with it. After that board's been used, it's got to be sanitized and clean. Or if they take the board away and they bring a clean one, that's fine by us. There's no chance of cross-contamination. That's, that is practicing safe kitchen handling.
Okay, so these two are the same weight,
But a different shape.
different shape. Now, what I think is most important is that if your student cuts 2 steaks and serves 2 steaks, that they're the same size and shape. So I'm not going to tell you they have to be, long like a New York, or they have to be square like a tenderloin. Just make them the same. Do you agree? I think that's kind of what we're looking for. Make sure that,
Away you go. You just made it the same shape.
well, part of it is truly just when I put it in the pan, if I squish it together, it'll sear and kind of firm up in that shape a little bit. I do apologize. I know this is a tricky one. Okay, and I know to get this kind of beef in might be a little bit more work than just going to the store and buying a pork tenderloin, which is in the past, and buying a chicken breast. But we feel that it's more important to have the students practicing consistent menus and what they'll have at nationals, rather than saying, we'll make it easier for you at provincials, but then whoever wins is just kind of in a crapshoot to try to figure it out over 2 days. Okay, so yeah, always just think about however I do the steak, the customer or the judge should be cutting against that grain. That's what we're looking for. And again, when you get this and you show your student, really show them that, feel it, really understand what that grain is all about. Okay. So let's start our béarnaise sauce.
A béarnaise.
Got a little pan.
So, one misconception I find with a lot of students, that the béarnaise sauce is they gotta, they read that, you're gonna put the bowl over boiling water or hot water. No, it's a misconception. The water should be warm. To be honest with you, if the water is at about 140 degrees, that's fine. The water does not need to be boiling. You're going to be putting in an egg yolk. An egg yolk coagulates between 120 and 130 degrees. So having the egg going in a bowl with boiling water, and I mean the water's boiling, so the temperature of that pan's going to be easy, 212 degrees. All you're going to get now is scrambled eggs. You ain't going to get an emulsion. So it's very important, and we stress this with our students too. You don't need boiling water. You just need something warm. And personally, like right now, we've just got this pot. I like to have it so that the bowl that I'm going to make my hollandaise in can really just sit nicely in the bowl, and that the warm water is touching, as you can see, it's wet here. It's just touching nicely on the bottom of the bowl. That's all you need. Now, there's a couple of good things that will help. If you can get that ideal bowl and pan to sit nicely, he already has it steady. He doesn't have to be worrying about the bowl slipping all over the place. Plus, again, like I said, having that warm bowl is going to help emulsify the eggs better.
Yeah.
Did you, you didn't have a reduction?
No, I wanted to show the reduction. It should be pretty quick. Yeah, they wanted to show you the reduction.
So, the components of hollandaise sauce, where béarnaise comes from, is basically egg yolks, some lemon juice, a little bit of vinegar. Some people don't put in, but what we like to do in the cooking terms, we like to make what we call a reduction. And that's by taking a little bit of shallots, just of some onion, very finely diced up. Some vinegar. And, well, what I'm going to do. Well, we like to take a little bit of cracked peppercorn, so I'll just put a couple of little shakes into this. And I've actually seen some people put a little bay leaf in too, but what you want that around. So all you're going to do, and this is something that they could make, they could put on and make ahead before they even actually need it, their béarnaise sauce. They put the reduction on, going to bring it up to a boil, and then what you're going to do is you're going to basically reduce that till it's next to nothing left in the pan. Because then what you're doing is you're evaporating a lot of the moisture, but you're getting all those flavors, and it's going to be a very concentrated flavor that's in there from the pepper, the onion, or the shallots in this case, and the vinegar. I've seen a lot of people do different things, but this is the best way to flavor any type of hollandaise sauce. And I use the word hollandaise is because you do make a hollandaise to start with. Now, it is béarnaise that's on there? Yeah. So there is also something else they could do. Yeah, well, I was going to mention. They could take a little bit of tarragon, yeah?
Yeah.
They could take a little bit of tarragon stalks and throw that in too, because your béarnaise sauce is a hollandaise that is flavored with tarragon. So basically what they're doing now is they're infusing that reduction with tarragon, so it's going to give more flavor to the base of the sauce itself. It's coming back on me if you wonder what. That's what happens. There's an old trick in the kitchen where you get the poor rookie in the kitchen and you say, "Do you want to come over here? Do you want to smell this and tell me if it's all right?" Just like the vinegar just clears out the sinuses, no problem. So it's a little trick we do, the harmless trick. So as you can see now, I've got this pretty well reduced down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a little bit of cold water.
Now the recipe says reduce by 3/4.
3/4, okay.
You don't have to necessarily measure it. Just know that if it reduces a little too much, all that's happened is the water's evaporating. So you can add a bit of water back to it.
And this will kind of, in a way, will, dilute that strength that's in there, and it won't make it too overpowering. So I got my bowl on here, and this bowl is nice and warm. And like I said, we had that water, it's been up, it's just sitting there. It's no problem.
You know what? The recipe said to strain this one at the end. You could strain this now, or you could add this to your eggs, whisk it all up, and then strain the finished one, and then add chocolate.
So,
matter.
I don't know if you guys have access to cheesecloth at school. Yeah. So you can make what we call a tammy cloth. So I'm just going to take that tarragon out. And we'll make it that way, and then oh, we got some cheesecloth back here. So put this in your bowl. Yolks go in.
I'm just doing a half recipe here. Yeah. Now, my big mistake with hollandaise took me a long time to figure out. I was so careful always, like it never split or anything, but it was always way too thick, no matter which recipe I followed or how carefully I followed it. My butter was too cold. That was the issue I was having. So it does need to be a little bit warm. Not hot, but warm.
Again, remember,
because hollandaise and béarnaise have this egg, if you get it too hot, you'll end up with scrambled eggs, right? That makes this a unique sauce. if you have tomato sauce and it gets cold,
Can you guys see?
No, just a little bit.
Okay, so we have to come right over on that.
if you make tomato sauce and it gets cold, you put it back on the stove and you heat it up, right? All it is doesn't really give you that flexibility. It's kind of like make it, try to keep it just at that right temperature. So what happens is if it gets too cold and too thick, you end up having to add a bit of warm water to thin it out, but then you're diluting the flavor. So ensuring that the butter still has some warmth to it helps keep it a little bit more runny like this.
So you can see here I'm mixing it up, and you can see the eggs are getting thicker. And tendency is for a lot of the kids when they're making, or even our students, will just start beating it and start shoveling in the butter. But this, along with mayonnaise, which is its kind of brother, are very temperamental sauces in the kitchen because they both play out the same way. They're both made with egg yolks. They're both using an oil. One's a warm oil, one's a cold oil. And you add some flavorings like vinegar, lemon juice, salt, pepper to them to flavor them. But if you add oil or the butter too fast, it's going to split. If you get it too hot, it's going to split. If you get it too cold, it's going to split. So you have to keep everything in harmony. Warm butter, keep a warm bowl, and like I said, a warm bowl, not a hot bowl. So again, you see here, you can see some very light peaks coming. So that's showing me my sauce is very well emulsified. Now, if your student has a hand blender, trust me, it works too. You can get a really good emulsification going with a hand blender because the hand blender is working a lot faster than my wrist does. So here you go, you can see right now, we've got our emulsification. And now for me, this is perfect to start. And again, you can see my pot or my bowl is sitting nicely on my pot. And then just very carefully, dribble in your butter. Mixing as you go.
So over here, took our steak, little drizzle of oil, salt and pepper. A lot of chefs like coarse salt when they're doing this. It's mostly because they have a feel for it. And just the texture of the salt, just by feeling they know when they've seasoned it enough, just out of habit and repetition. So you can use coarse salt, you can use fine salt. I don't think that makes a big difference to it. But with searing, it's about having a nice hot pan. Dry piece of meat, patted dry, with the oil and water not get along. And I'm starting with just a little bit of canola oil or vegetable oil. They have a high tolerance for heat, so they don't start smoking as easily as some other oils. So we're looking for a really nice brown sear.
And that's a good point that Peter brings up, patting the steak, because you are going to get some possible moisture from when you're taking it out of the bag. If they let it sit in the fridge covered, there's still going to be a little bit moisture loss. But just giving it a little pat, season it, then put it in the pan. Of course, Peter's using here an electric stove. They're going to be using electric too, so they're lucky. But still, you'll still find the spats of fat. If there's too much moisture, it'll spit and then it'll come and then they'll have flames shooting out. And then you'll know what the students to do. They start to panic and, you know.
That's what I'm looking for. Nice dark sear like that. Now, the way it goes with the butter is, once I've got that good sear, I tend to actually turn my stove right off. And a nice big spoon. This is actually an antique silver spoon, but it's what I use it for. I keep it in my night bag just for this. I'm gonna throw some crushed cloves of garlic, some fresh thyme, And I'm going to throw in the butter. And then we're going to baste the steak with it. The melted butter has, sugars in it that caramelize in a way that oil does not. So that adds some brown color, it adds some flavor, it adds that beautiful smell. And then the hot butter running over the thyme and garlic brings out the flavor compounds of the thyme and garlic. So I'm adding a little bit of that flavor to the outside of my steak.
Okay, so I'm just seasoning up the tarragon sauce or the béarnaise. One thing for the students also to remember, what type of butter are they using? If it's salted butter, be careful, taste. If you feel your hollandaise needs a little bit more salt, then add. But you will get from the butter still some residual salt in there. So don't just like, oh, we're just gonna add some salt in. Taste, do we need a little bit more? Yes, add a little bit more, but not that they just go ahead and put a whole lot in, because they might get a big surprise.
Now I'm going to finish cooking these in the oven. Here's a very important lesson. If I take this pan and stick it in the oven, this pan is hotter than the oven temperature. This could be 500 degrees. My oven's at 350, and I've timed it all out that, okay, I know 350 takes about 10 minutes to finish the steak. Well, the steak is actually still in contact with that 500 degree pan, and it's going to cook quite a bit faster than you're expecting. And it will overcook on one side, so when you slice into it, it'll be white brown on the bottom, and maybe more pink on top. It just doesn't look very well done, very properly done, I should say. So switch to a room temperature pan. We'll throw this in the oven. Now we're looking for medium rare, so the temperature that you were given is 135 Fahrenheit. Pick up one of these. This is a really important tool. Give that to your students. And again, I'm not going to tell you a time. You need to figure it out trial and error, because it depends how hot was their pan, how well did they sear it, how long did they sear it for, how cold was the steak when they started. So build a routine, stick to it, measure it, and write out your own time based on the way it's been going.
Like we normally teach the students using their hand. So basically, if I grab this part of my thumb, this is rare. This is what a rare steak should feel like. If I want it medium rare, I bring my first finger over, and here it's rare. Medium rare, you can see now that muscle firms up a little bit, and that's what happens with meat when you start applying heat to it. It firms up the texture in the muscles. So medium rare. Bring the middle one over medium. It's a little bit firmer, but I can still poke it. Medium well, and then well done. And now it's really, really firm. So I don't know if you can work with your students that way. The only thing to be careful is sometimes when you stick a thermometer in the steak, it's going to exude the blood. And that's why we teach the students to try and use their fingers to touch, because then you're not opening up the steak and allowing the juices to flow out. Yeah. I hate to do this, boss. Whoa. I know you never saw me do that. If you're able to, we throw it into here and then we'll throw this in our memory. I was just going to put it in this one.
Oh yeah, well that's fine. We'll just stick it.
So, a nice little strainer. It's called we call it a tammy cloth. So you just take a little bit of cheesecloth, double it up, and then they drape it over a bowl. Take their sauce.
Now, an old trick, I guess, in a competition is
You've got two people, but you can still do it with one. So then when they get it, all they have to do is just turn it one way with the other one and anti-clockwise with the other. And then what will happen is it goes through. There you go. Now put it on. This now will push that sauce through. So all the shallots, the pepper, corn that I have in there will all stay in that bag. And I've getting myself a nice smooth sauce. And now all I have to do make sure we get the right one.
Now we've got a little cayenne here, so a little pinch of that is classic in a hollandaise too.
Just gives it a little bit of a kick.
Less is more. So yeah, an old trick in competitions, I guess, is get everything ready as early as you can. Use things like the steam table technique, or even if it's just getting everything cut and portioned and laid out, and then when it's go time, you just go. So you're standing at the stove and you cook everything last. That's a really good approach. So something like this, by doing this a little bit early, you can hold it at the right temperature. When I go to plate, splash a little bit of hot water in there just to loosen it up a bit more, make it a little more saucy, warm it back up a little bit more. But trying to finish your hollandaise in the last 30 seconds before you're plating is a recipe for disaster. Because if it splits, you will not have hollandaise on your plate, or you'll be 10 minutes.
So for a safety, hollandaise can be made 1.5 hours prior to being needed. So again, if you get your student to make his hollandaise sauce half an hour before service time, he's well within that time frame. And again, just make sure he sits it in a warm place, not a hot place. Again, he could have I've just got it in that bowl there. He could have it in a pot with just warm water, and then every little once in a while, it doesn't have to be hot. Just hot water from the tap in a bowl would be good enough just to keep the sauce warm. You don't want to get it overheated.
So I've just got this water hot. That's going to be to quickly refresh my asparagus. So we blanched it. Blanching should always err on the side of caution, so undercook it just slightly, because then you have to warm it back up. So with asparagus, the fine pencil-sized asparagus, I'm talking 15 seconds, like very. You want this nice bright green. For me, like this one's maybe even a little bit over. Really nice and bright. Still have a little crunch to it. You can always cook it a little bit more at the end if it's still a bit too under. You just finish it a little more, but especially at the high school level, err on the side of caution. So that's why I blanched it straight into ice water. As soon as it's cold, out of the water, because water just steals flavor from everything, and then into the fridge. And now we'll just quickly refresh it. So my root vegetables are out of the oven already. I've got them in my steam table here. And let's talk about resting meat. As a rule of thumb, if I cook meat for, say, 20 minutes, I should rest it for 10 minutes. Half the length of time that it was in the oven, you should be letting it rest. And what's happening is the juices are forced into the very middle of the meat by the heat of the oven. It just pushes that liquid into the middle. So we've all seen that when you slice into a roast beef right when it comes out of the oven. All the juice just pours out of it. By letting it rest, it just kind of equalizes back into the drier parts around the outside, and then you get that nice, consistent pink color throughout. So, this was in the oven maybe 8 minutes, so it's not going to need a ton of time.
That's it right now, you love.
Yeah, we'll just stick the salmon garlic on top now. Probably your best thing is you can get a little wire wrap, like a cookie wire wrap. Put that on a pan and put your steaks on there. It just prevents the chance that your student puts it on a really hot pan. It's going to keep cooking. They don't realize, oh, that baking sheet is still pretty hot. Like, this one's fine, I can touch it. So it's not going to overcook my steak and having it sit there.
If you can let your steak rest after you take it out of the oven, let it rest for a couple of minutes before he puts it on the plate and serves it. Guarantee what happens then is, because inside the steak the juices are getting all agitated, as you put it down on the cooling rack, they slowly soften down, and then the juices spread back into the meat. Have you ever noticed when you guys, if you cook a roast, you get it out of the oven and you just can't wait to start carving, and then the next thing you know, you got this juice running all over the table? Same thing with the roast. Let it sit 10 to 15 minutes, but in the case of the steak, 2 to 3 minutes, just so that that juice dissipates back into the meat itself, and then start carving, and you won't get too much mess on your table.
So we have decided that it's at your student's discretion whether they serve the steak as one whole steak or if they slice it up. It's up to them. It's up to you and your student. There's pros and cons of each. The pro of slicing it is if it's perfectly cooked and it's perfectly rested, you show that off, and it's impressive. And it adds that beautiful pink color to the overall kind of mosaic colors on your dish. The con is, if there's anything wrong with how it's cooked, it's immediately evident, and it's a first impression thing. So sometimes if you're serving a well-done steak when it's supposed to be medium rare, if it comes to the judge looking like a beautiful whole steak, they have a good first impression. If it comes and it's sliced and it's well done, it just kind of forms that overall impression, and then it's becoming part of the presentation marks. My personal choice, if I was competing, would be master the cooking and slice it and show it. But here's the other thing. Slicing, I guess another con, it's going to cool down. So your timing then has to be perfect. It's totally up to you. The judges, I think, will be fair and balanced, and they'll look at, the overall dish, the overall presentation. Doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. What matters is, was it seasoned? Was it cooked properly? Is it seared nicely? That's the consideration.
So that mashed potatoes has been sitting in that container. So you can see it's still keeping nice and hot. Okay. So it has its advantages by using that.
So this is what I mean when I say I like to have a steam table in front of me. Now everything's within arm's reach as I'm cleaning up my dish.
Is the burner on?
Is that what?
Is the burner on?
No, I was touching the steak. I touched the steak. That's one thing I wanted to say too, is the tendency for the students is they'll touch the steak and they want to do that. So you just got to make sure that all you're doing is you're touching the steak for the firmness of it.
Checking the seasoning.
No.
A little more salt. A little fresh cracked pepper. I wanted to show you the two very different shaped steaks because they are probably, this one's probably a little over and that one's probably a little under. That one rare-ish still.
Oh, it's nice. That one's right on.
Yeah, right on. So this one's a little bit over, and it just adds this extra layer of difficulty for your students if they're trying to balance the cooking times on two different chunks of meat. So I don't really mind either way if they do a flat thin one or more of like the baseball style. Whatever it takes to get them to have it just right. So this is just asparagus flavored water, so that won't do any harm here. Let's add a little splash. Sorry, Chef, a little too much. We're looking for this to be saucy, like it should pour like a sauce.
And a good test for a sauce is just take the spoon and it should run off, but you should have enough coatability on that. If that whole sauce just runs right off and there's nothing sticking on the spoon, it's too thin.
So you can do this a lot of different ways. So we talked about the piping thing. Yeah, the plates. Talked about the piping thing. The thing about mashed potatoes is there's not a whole lot of ways to make it look beautiful on a plate and make it look like you plated it very intentionally. So piping is kind of a nice way to do that. Here. So I brought just a round tip and cut through that. And I'll show you, so you can do the classic Duchesse style where you pipe the rings. You can do like a big rosette. So you can just Google piped mashed potatoes and you'll see lots of ideas. I'll show you maybe a little more modern style. I forgot to show you. Toss that in here. Yeah, nothing worse than when this flips upside down after you put everything in it. So yeah, just pop this in here. That's pretty work. I'll show you. A little clips here for garnish. So these are hot plates. I had them in the oven. You should just barely be able to touch them. If you can't touch them at all, what's going to happen when I put my hollandaise on there is it's going to like start to simmer and splatter, and I've seen this happen a lot, especially with the soup ones. So if it's so hot that they can't even bear to touch it, give it a minute before you start plating. Okay, so part of what I like to do when I'm plating things is have some fun with different shapes, different kind of geometrics on the plate. It's very much in style right now. Just do a little bit of that here. And again, I'm not going to weigh out the portions here, but I encourage you as you're coming up with your presentation that you do weigh them, get it just right. This asparagus got a little bit cold. We'll give it a quick drop in the bottom there. So with the asparagus, maybe you have some fun, do something kind of like this. And then just think like that. Yeah. Now, we talk a little bit about camouflage. If you bring me a steak that's completely drenched in sauce, my immediate assumption is, what was wrong with the steak? Did it not look quite right? And this is a decision. So if your student somehow just the steak really doesn't sear properly, maybe it is better to camouflage it with the sauce, because the judge will notice if it's not seared properly. But if it is beautifully seared, the last thing you want to do is hide it, right? Show off that nice sear. So there's an idea.
make sure that when the students are plating, even though the asparagus might be a little bit long, you notice nothing's gone over the edge of the plate. Tell them to keep it within. There's a lot of tendencies where the students they want to put things over on that lip of the plate. No.
Now, please work on serving us a nice, beautiful dish, but don't make it everything. Don't get your student into that mindset that presentation is the most important thing. Because we have seen dishes just fall apart because they spend half an hour on this and everything's ice cold. And then at the end, we thought, gee, the asparagus really needed salt and the potatoes really weren't that soft and the steak really wasn't seared that well. They focus so much on making this artwork on the plate. At the end of the day, we're serving food and food needs to taste good, and that's what cooking competitions are all about. So taste is 35% of the marks. So it's very important. Can't stress it enough. Have some fun with this. Encourage your students to be creative, but don't let it take over their